Hello everyone, this is SethTheProgrammer here, bringing you another debatable topic. Today I'm going to be talking about the Super Saiyan 3 and the Super Saiyan Blue transformations, and why doesn't Goku utilize them in Dragon Ball Super. Okay, so far as we know, the difference between the strain between a Kaioken and a Super Saiyan 3 is pretty important for this argument. So let's look over it. Okay, so for one, we know that the Kaioken itself is very strenuous, so strenuous that even just using it, your body can like literally explode upon itself. Even using it above ×3 is considered dangerous, like almost lethal. This is shown when Goku uses it ×10 against Hit for an extended period of time. His body starts like convulsing and like he starts having muscle spasms. He can't even move, and he's like completely fatigued. And as we know, the Kaioken only lasts like a heartbeat. I don't know if he can extend the time range now, but either way, it's a very strenuous technique. And we know that when he uses techniques like the Super Kaioken, even using it for just a brief second can wear him out extremely. We also know that the Super Saiyan Blue that he uses the Kaioken with has a lot more strain than just his mastered Super Saiyan state, because his mastered Super Saiyan state that he used versus Pikkon doesn't actually have any really strain. It's kind of like his base form, which is why he can use the Kaioken, I'm assuming, because he's very clear-headed. And even then, it like completely wore him out. Just use it for a second. And we know that the Super Saiyan Blue is extremely strenuous at this point in time, probably because he's newer to the form. It does have some strain problems, so it's a lot harder to use than the Super Saiyan. And then he uses Kaioken ×10 on top of that. It's very easy to assume that he can only use it for brief instances, just like the Super Kaioken. And it's just that mainly they're so fast that a heartbeat is actually kind of like a long period of time. So like if we say that they're like numerous times faster than light, a heartbeat would actually be an extremely long amount of time, which is why they can have an entire fight in a heartbeat. This is just actually shown in original Dragon Ball as well when we see Roshi versus Krillin, and it's like over in a blink of an eye, but we know it's an entire fight. So at levels like the gods, a heartbeat would actually be an extremely long amount of time. So when we're looking at the Super Saiyan 3 form, we know that it can last a lot longer than, say, a Super Kaioken. So let's look into the details of it. For one, we know that Super Saiyan 2 is easier to use than Super Kaioken. This is because Goku, when using the Super Kaioken, when only one punch of using it, was extremely tired afterwards, and yet Goku was able to have an entire battle as a Super Saiyan 2 versus Majin Vegeta. We also know that as a Super Saiyan 3, he was able to have an entire fight with Kid Buu, a being that almost has limitless reserves of power. And after it was over, he wasn't on the ground convulsing in pain. Like his ki was low, but he wasn't on the ground convulsing in pain. He couldn't move and shit like that. So the strain of the Super Saiyan 3 is less than that of the Kaioken, let alone a Super Kaioken. So what I'm trying to argue here is, why is Goku using a Super Kaioken ×10 instead of just going Super Saiyan 3? Because we know that the Super Saiyan 3 form is like a ×8 multiplier, and it has a lot less strain than that of a Super Kaioken. So my argument here is, a Super Saiyan 3 is an 8 times multiplier, and the Kaioken ×10 is 10 times multiplier. But the effects of Kaioken only last a heartbeat, and they can completely destroy your entire body. Yet Super Saiyan 3 can be used for entire battles as it gradually wears down your ki. So my question is why would he resort to using something that can completely tear apart his body in a fight against someone that's constantly improving, instead of just using something like the Super Saiyan 3 transformation? And then like if he really has to, then use like a Super Kaioken like ×2 on top of the Super Saiyan 3 form, not trying to keep a Kaioken ×10 for an entire fight, which is fallacious, especially when we know that every time he's tried to use the Kaioken, it completely tears apart his body. And Super Saiyan 3 has shown no such thing as that. And we know that in Battle of Gods and etc., that he's actually kind of mastered the Super Saiyan 3 form a lot more than he used to. Remember when it took him like 6 minutes straight to power up and turn into a Super Saiyan 3 when he first used it in the Buu Saga? And now, as we look at in Battle of Gods, he can turn into it like in just a few seconds. So I see no reason for him to not use the Super Saiyan 3 Blue over the Kaioken ×10. Honestly, like if he just hurried up and stopped playing around with Hit, then he honestly could have finished the fight very quickly. In all honesty, it just looks like Toriyama's trying to keep to his promise, like, oh, Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 won't be used anymore. They don't see a reason to use it, even though it's really fallacious, because we know that You know, the Kaioken is a lot more strenuous than a Super Saiyan transformation by far. Like, they don't even use the Kaioken anymore. If the Kaioken was more effective, then he would have just used Super Kaioken times 10 on Buu instead of going Super Saiyan 3, if that makes sense. But clearly he didn't do that, so this is just fallacious. You could argue that the God form, like, regenerates his body so he can use it longer, which I guess is all right, but that doesn't hinder the fact that the Super Saiyan Blue is actually very strenuous, and on top of Kaioken, it just doesn't make any sense. The only reason I see him using it was because he was actually planning on using maybe a Kaioken times 20 against Hit, once Hit started becoming serious and using his killing techniques. He's probably hoping for that to happen. But even then, that's just kind of redundant, because it wouldn't even lasted a heartbeat, so I just don't see any reason for him using that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Throw your suggestions down below, what you think is going on with the series, why he's not using it, and till next time.